Well, a very good morning. Thanks for getting on to the Saturday edition of Vogan's European Outlook. We have a true beast from the east coming in very briefly, may I add, later this weekend and into the new working week. How do we know it's a beast from the east? Well, you look at the source region, as I said in last night's post, it is cold. It isn't outrageously cold where it's extreme. I want to point that out to you because it's easy to kind of jump in this. We sometimes have went through a couple of years without seeing one, and people get excited when they see a colder pattern, especially an easterly airflow coming in off a cold Scandinavia or Europe. So it's all well within the realms of normal for this time of the year, but you've got the cold source region, and you'll watch the lines of equal pressure, the isobars, and are they uninterrupted, connecting the source with the UK, and that all is coming together just nicely. So we are going to have a bitterly cold end to the weekend and beginning of the new working week. Now you can see here there's a fight as we go through the course of today. The source region, that is Scandinavia, is building the cold air. We've still got Atlantic weather coming in from the west. But then, as you notice, through the second half of this weekend, you start to see things changing, and we start to see that kind of turn within the upper air pattern, and you start to plug that very cold air, that very cold reservoir over Scandinavia and northwestern Russia, and you watch the isobars linking this cold source region with the southeast of England. And we are going to tap some of this minus 10 to minus 15 air at 850 millibars and bring it into the UK again. So we are going to have, like I say, a short shove of cold air, bitterly cold air from the continent into the UK. So we're going to see snow showers, we're going to see cold temperatures struggling to get much above freezing, I think, for southeast England. And really across much of the UK it's going to be very cold indeed. Strongest winds will be over the southern half of the UK. Further north we've got a bit more space within the isobars indicating lighter winds, but it will certainly feel distinctly cold out there, if not bitter, where that wind is blowing. And it's really blowing from Denmark, from the Baltic Sea into Lincolnshire, East Anglia and the southeast here. But what I want to draw your attention to here, folks, is while this is a short-lived easterly airflow here, look at what's behind this next frontal system coming in off the Atlantic. Equally as cold air, which is very impressive given that it's over the Atlantic here. So the work of the positive NAO, the negative AO is doing its work, and it does look as if, although we've got the westerlies coming back in, pushes out the cold continental air, it is going to turn round and it's going to be significantly cold as we go forward here. So you can see here, very, very bullish. The GFS is indicating minus 10 at 850, which that is reasonably unusual to see. We do get it, but not overly often do we see minus 10 at 850 behind an Atlantic system, a system that's crossed the North Atlantic. Typically, you moderate the air. We still are moderating the air because, of course, when it was over Canada and Greenland, it was probably in the minus 35 to minus 40 range at 850. So we do take a good 20-30 degrees off what it was originally. But it is going to push into the UK as a cold front, and behind it, I think we could see a significant snow event, even down to low levels, as we go into the early and middle part of next week. So we're kind of pushing out the easterlies. We'll lose that. We disconnect Russia, Scandinavia, the Baltics with the UK. The winds are now disrupted, as you can see here, and then we've got this system coming in off the Atlantic. So we're replacing continental with polar maritime, but it looks as if this has a lot of energy, a lot of cold air within that we're going to continue to see the wintry pattern, despite the fact that we're going back to a westerly once again here. But certainly it is a very, very chilly outlook indeed. As we go through the middle part of the week, another system tries to come in. It once again sees that squeeze in the mild air. It is basically swallowed up by a sea of cold air this crossing the Atlantic here, and then as we go through the second half of next week, we're back into that colder air once again. And I think a lot of the precipitation that does fall next week will have a wintry flavour to it. I'm not saying it's exclusively sleet and snow the whole time. We may get a little bit of rain mixed in as well, but I do think we are going to see some snow. We could see potentially some significant snow even to lower levels here. So certainly a pattern that is very, very interesting, worth pointing out that we do have potentially the coldest month of the winter overall coming up for the entire British Isles. Of course, it was warmer than normal in January across the south, colder than normal across the north. We might have a more distinctly uniform colder than normal during the month of February here. So let's have a quick look at the surface and precipitation. So we've got a system coming in during the course of today, primarily a hill snow event, rain to low levels. That system clears out. We'll replace that with high pressure, a nice 1032 high sitting over the North Sea to the east of Aberdeen here. That orientation of high pressure centre means that we are plugging the air from Finland, from Russia, right the way across into the southern half of the UK. Like I say, where the isobars are spaced out, you've got little in the way of wind. So we don't really, in a sense, have that influence of the beast from the east further north in the north of England, Scotland, Northern Ireland. It's more a southern Britain sort of event, this. As we continue to skip forward, that high pressure remains in place, but we start to lose it. Heights start to come down as the atmosphere over the UK starts to feel the next system coming in off the Atlantic here. And I do think this could be a substantial snowmaker. As you can see here, it bumps into the cold air, precipitation changes over to snow, and that system clears out. We've got another wave of energy coming in. Again, where's the greens? There's none. So the GFS is indicating that precipitation is going to be pretty much all frozen as it goes into the UK. This is during Tuesday the 6th of February. Then as that system clears out, we continue to see the active weather pattern coming in off the Atlantic, and another system bumps into the cold air because it's not going anywhere, and the precipitation changes once over to snow. So an interesting week of winter weather coming up next week. A true beast from the east, only lasting some 36 hours or so before it loses grip and the Atlantic comes back in once again. But it doesn't mean to say we're going to change over to mild anytime soon. Hope you have a great Saturday, a great weekend, and I'll be back again next week with more. Bye for now.